Hello, and welcome to our last class about pagan philosophy. And in this class, from pagan to Christian philosophy, we're going to study the pagan theories. We're still in that stage, but they were highly influenced by Christian ideas, and those theories are almost like a consequence. Uh, they are like brothers. Those theories and Christianism are brothers in the sense that they were born in the same context. They were born because of the same factors, so they're very similar. I can't treat those theories. I cannot treat Neoplatonism the same as skepticism or Stoicism, just like a normal pagan philosophy. It is it is clearly between paganism and Christianism, and that's why I separated it from the last pagan theories, correct? So first we're going to study about the pagan religious books that was born together with the Bible, right? Um, they're quite similar, and they're going to be very important in the beginning of modern era and the end and the end of the medieval period, right? Because they start with the Renaissance. They start studying ancient religious, and lots of philosophers, you know, uh, use some concept from those books. Then we're going to study Plotinus' metaphysics and Plotinus' comprehension about human life, right? And that's it. Plotinus is the main figure from pagan Neoplatonism, right? While the main figure of Christian Neoplatonism is Augustine. When talking about the pagan religious books, we have the Corpus Hermeticum, and it is a revelation from an Egyptian god. It's supposed to be a revelation from an Egyptian god, but he was similar to Hermes. Thus, the book was attached to him, right? This Egyptian god was very similar to the Greek god, right? So people uh, thought that the book were from the Greek god, right? So it's related to Egyptian knowledge, right? It has a transcendental monotheism. Humans are similar to God. They believe that humans are similar to God. They believe in a metaphysical hierarchy, right? That old idea that okay, we have God, then we have the logos, then we have material world, then we have the passions, then we have this hierarchy about the metaphysical categories. They say that soul is better than the body. The soul is in a higher metaphysical hierarchy, and they say that self-knowledge is more important than contemplation because our soul is in a higher metaphysical hierarchy. So studying the world is not as good as studying ourselves. It goes from to that way, and this is gonna be more relevant on next classes. That's why I'm not going to take long on it. Chaldean oracles, related to oracles wisdom, not Egyptian. Everything came from a trinity. They believe on a trinity just as the Christians, and they developed a theurgy, which is the manipulation of divine magic. They say that they don't study theology, but theurgy. They like act in favor of God. They act together with God. That's the idea that the book brings, right? So yeah, I think I don't need to take long on that. Just religious beliefs that were influential. Like Neoplatonism treated the Chaldean oracles just like a Christian Neoplatonic would treat the Bible, right? They truly believed on that, and it was very influential. Then we got to Plotinus' metaphysics. He says that all concepts depend on the concept of unity, even the being, right? Every concept. If something is X, that's because something is only X, right? If something has a unity, it is something, it is not various things, it's one thing that is different from that other thing, right? And all the concepts have this idea inside it of unity. So we can say that the unity is the most basic idea of all. The Plotino don't talk about hyperuranium. He talks about the hypostasis. Hypostasis are those properties that are transcendental, that are beyond our world, that are eternal. So it's basically the hyperuranium. He says that the biggest hypostasis is the the one, the unity, the concept of unity, right? And it is also the concept of good, because yeah, it's completely existing. Is a complete. It is absolutely free. It don't want nothing, because he it's not a he, it's an it. It already has everything, so it does not want anything. And all existing things proceed from the one, but it doesn't want, need, or did that, like the heat of a flame. Plotinus talk about proceeding, this process of proceeding from other things. He say that it's like the heat from a flame. You know, you have the flame, and the flame, for some reason, some heat proceeds from the flame until you have any heat at all, right? So that's how it happens with the one. The one does not want the world to exist. He does not make the world exist. He does not. It does not act. It's not capable of acting, because if one is acting, it means it is not perfect. Because, well, if it is changing something on the world, if it is putting himself on a situation, that's because it was not on that situation before. So it's that old idea that movement means uh, is the opposite of perfection, right? And so it does not try to create everything, but it creates. Comes from it simply proceeds from the one. So we have the one, and then we have nothing, right? And just like if we had a fire and nothing around that fire, and cold, because cold does not exist, right? Cold is just the lack of heat. So we have a fire, and then we have a cold place around it. Then the heat goes, and suddenly there is no heat at all. Then we have only uh, cold, only nothing. That's how it happens with the one. There is the one, like in the center of the universe. Then things proceed from the one until until it goes to the nothing, right? So that's how his hierarchy, his metaphysical hierarchy, is organized, by these levels of proceeding from the one. The spirit, look that I put spirit with a capital S. When I say spirit or soul with a capital S, we're talking about the spirit of the world, the soul of the world, right? We're talking about a concept from Plotinus philosophy. We're not talking about the way that we usually say spirit or soul. But if I put it without the capital letter, without the capital S, then we're talking about soul, we're talking about spirit, just as we say every day, right? Well, the spirit comes directly from the one, being the purest beings, the concepts, right? That old Platonic idea The concepts are eternal, the concepts are more existing, right? So the spirit is what has all these concepts. It has also the concept of concept. So the one, actually, it's important to say that the one is not a concept. The one is not an idea. The one is a super concept, a super idea, a super being. Because even the idea of being needs the idea of one. Even the idea of concept needs the idea of one. So it's beyond everything. But the spirit is the hyperuranium, is the Platonic hyperuranium, right? The the place where we can find we can find all the ideas, all the concepts that are not related to the physical world. But we also have the soul. The soul with the capital S is what gives movement and life to sensitive things. And it is categorized in three, right? Soul is the gravity, the laws of physics, the the relations between things, the movement, and the actually the last hypothesis, that is before the material world. It means that it created the material world. The material world was created by the soul by proceeding from that, right? It's not a creation with teleological, it's not a teleological creation. It's it's through proceeding, right? So material world proceed from soul. And the soul has three aspects of that. Supreme, soul as one of the hypostases, soul as an something that comes from the one, so something that has good, something that has being, something that has existence, something that has some level of eternity, the soul of everything, the aspect of the soul that is being being everything. Soul as the creator of the physical world, the soul of the world, and the soul of particularities, the soul of this paper that is able to fall. Everything is a manifestation of the soul. So, and also our souls, correct? Our souls without a capital letter. And as the movement of stuff, right? The soul as movement of stuff. This one is the soul of the particularities is the further you can go, is you can go from the one, right? It just loses for the physical things on itself, right? So that's how the hypostases are organized, right? We have the spirit, we have the one that is super being, super existence, super idea. We have the spirit, which is idea, which is existence. We have the soul, which is relation, which is movement, which is the base for physical world. And then we have physical world. And then after the physical world, the heat of the flame just vanishes into the nothingness, right? The existence just um, ends. And then Plotinus talk about human life, the basis for human life, right? Right, the metaphysical basis for Plotinus' comprehension of human life. Those are: the worst thing possible is not existing, right? The worst thing possible is nothingness, because even the being, even material things, being the further you can go from the being, they still proceed from the one. They still proceed from the good, right? They still proceed, they still exist in some level. So it is better than not existing at all. So nothing is the worst thing ever. We tend to think that nothing is neutral, right? But Plotinus say no, nothing is the worst thing possible, because everything is positive. The matter is just just like a low positive number, matter is like a 5, then the soul is like a 10, the spirit like a 15, and then the one a 20, or an infinite, or something like that. But body is the worst existence possible, right? That's the base for his ethical theory. Another part of the base of for the ethical theory, they are not metaphysical, they're still metaphysical but psychological, the study of our souls, our particular souls. Plotino says that sensation is a vague understanding of the soul and thoughts are a clear one, right? He say that sensation is a lot related to material world, while the thoughts are related to the soul in a more pure way, right? It's a better way of representing and comprehending the soul. So he clearly puts himself here against empiricism, right? He puts himself against sensation because he thinks that abstract representations are a better representation of the being, of the things that exist, because the soul exists more than matter. He also says that love, intelligence, hate, everything is an activity of our souls. He does not divide the soul. He puts our souls as one thing that has all those properties. And freedom is the most superior humane activity, right? He says that the main characteristic of the one is that it is free, right? The one has everything it wants, whenever he wants, and how he wants. So it is completely free. It can do anything. It is pure power, you know, or better, it is super power. It is beyond power. So being free and acting is actually the most superior humane activity, right? And that's it. Although, remember, the one is free, but it does not act because it already is perfect. So it has this strange. If you put like freedom and but we get the movement out, we have a strange concept. How can it be free if it cannot act, right? And this problem is going to be explored more in medieval philosophy. So we can wait that we're gonna have this discussion. Then, but how can we actually approach the one? How can we actually get better? How should we live our lives? Plotinus asks, and he also answers. First, we need to have contact with the soul, right? The soul with capital S, which is the closest we can get from the one, like, the easiest path to the one. First, we need to have contact with the soul, then the spirit, then the one. The easiest way is through our souls, right? Because that's the soul we have the most contact with, right? And then from our particular souls, we can go from the soul to the soul of everything, then to the supreme soul. After that, we can have contact with the spirit, and after having contact with the spirit, we can finally have contact with the one, and then having a perfect life, having a life that is guided by the one, and that is, based on the one. You can see that it is quite religious, this idea, right? Because the one here almost gets like the property of a god. It is not, it's no more a concept that everything depends and that is necessary, yada yada yada. No, here it becomes like a being that you need to seek and that you need to, uh, live your life for that. So we can see here some Christian influences on Plotinus. And looking inside, inside ourselves, right? We need to separate the one and the nothing, right? We have those two things in the world. Remember the fire example, we have the cold and the heat, we have the nothing and the one. And separate the one and the nothing, in our minds. Okay, this is nothing, this is one. Then affirm the one and negate the nothing, right? So we need to search which of the aspects of ourselves are more existing and which are less existing. And he is going to say that it means gradually being more rational, purifying your emotions and passions. So if you have emotions that are fast, that are, that are passions, that does not stay, you know, it's fast, it's frivolous, and it's nonsense. We should stop living our lives for them, and we need to seek for emotions that are more constant, reliable, and more existing, right? Because if it is if it exists for a long period of time, it also exists more. We need to remember this idea of more existing, right? We need to have that in our minds clear, crystal clear, because Neoplatonism is gonna use that concept a lot of like more existing and less existing. And then after being rational, after purifying your emotions, we will finally have contact with the one, and we will achieve ecstasy. Ecstasy is the term that Plotinus uses to describe how it is to have contact with the one, how it is to actually, you know, uh, comprehend the most the deepest existence of the universe. He says that people in that situation live in ecstasy. And that's it. This part of Plotinus' theory is quite mysterious and quite, vague, but I think I could show it, show the path that it goes and how the arguments conclude those, all those mythical ideas, right? I hope you enjoyed, and I hope we can see each other in the future.